Hello and welcome to Motorcycle News and welcome to the latest in our 2024 long-term test reports. And today I'm joined by Chief Road Tester Michael Neves.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent. And we're here to talk about your KTM 1390 Super Duke R Evo.
Evo.
Oh, that's a long old name.
And it's the Evo because it's got electronic suspension.
Yes.
Compared to the normal R.
That's right,
in a nutshell.
Right. So you've been very kind and provided me with 10 good points and 10 bad points about this bike.
Yep.
And but before we get into it, let's just have a chat about what you've done, because you've been a busy boy this year.
I've had it for just over 5 months.
Right.
And in that time, I've done 15,300 miles so far.
Wow.
So I've hardly been off of the bike.
Yeah, yeah.
I've done 3 main trips.
Yep.
I've ridden it down to the Pyrenees with some friends. I went to Spa and the Nürburgring on it, rode there, did some track days, went around the ring with my girlfriend Nina, and then we both went to Italy on it not so long ago via the Dolomites and the south of France, which is absolutely fantastic. And on top of that, track days at Donington and Brands Hatch, and commuting to work and everything in between. And this started life as a test bike where we did a Super Nakeds group test at the beginning of the year as well. So my bum is kind of KTM shaped now.
Wow. I mean, this must be the highest mileage 1390 in the UK.
Must be.
It's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the highest mileage termers I've had, such a short amount of time as well.
Absolutely, I'm proper impressed. And it, it still looks, you've kept it remarkably clean.
Yeah, quite anal when it comes to the clean.
Yeah, exactly. So I reckon we should start then with the good points first.
Okay.
We'll keep people holding on for the negativity, but yeah, we'll start then with the fact you say it's never let you down.
No.
As well as wanting the KTM. It was almost an experiment inspired by your friend Bob. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, so it's no secret that KTMs get quite a bad rap.
Yes.
And quite often justifiably so.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had one of these, haven't you?
Absolutely, I had the 1290, yeah.
And you've only got to look at one of your past videos to know that you've had a lot of problems with it.
Yes.
We've had a lot of problems with test bikes before, long-term test bikes. We know of readers, people that have had endless problems with KTMs. But I wanted to see for myself what it's like to live with a KTM. And I knew I had all this stuff to do this year. And I knew that it might be a risk to do it, but it was a risk I was willing to take because a friend of mine, close friend called Bob, who helps me out with my racing, has always had Ducatis, Multistradas, all sorts. And he got himself a KTM Super Duke R to do one of our riding trips. And I thought to myself, you are mad to do that. But he took it on a trip, it was absolutely fine. He absolutely loves it, he's had no problems with it. And that's what gave me the confidence to get this bike, really. And it hasn't let me down at all. It's never left me stranded, never come close.
Wow. I mean, you already touched on it. I'm glad to hear it, really am. But also, I had the 1290 Evo. I did 6,000 miles, and that had new switchgear. I had a slight oil leak. I had some coolant issues. I had issues with the seals on the hydraulic clutch. And I had a Super Duke GT before that with a TF that needed a TFT replacement. So it's nice to see, certainly from this bike, that things are turning a corner.
KTM are obviously trying. They're not stupid, are they? They know how to make motorbikes. They've had a lot of bad fortune. A lot of it they bring on themselves and their reaction to it. But I think that, this bike proves that they're definitely turning a corner.
Fab, fantastic.
And this turns corners really well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, we'll move on to the second thing, which, I think is quite fitting. So you say it's fast on track, it's got great handling with great front and rear brakes at Donington, Brands Hatch, Spa, Nürburgring, and the launch at Almeria.
Yeah.
You live a life, don't you?
Yeah.
And you had to change the pads at 8,399 miles and 12,121 miles.
So, this bike is multifaceted. And the best thing about it, obviously, the thing that appeals to people the most is its performance. So it does go like a super bike.
Oh, yeah.
It's got 180 bhp at the back wheel. Actually, 1 horsepower down on the 1290, surprising, but it's got so much gumph stuck up its exhaust pipes, doesn't it? It needs the bigger engine to sort of maintain its power. And from a handling point of view, it never leaves you wanting more. It's got fantastic brakes, although it does seem to eat brake pads, like you said, I've had to change them quite a few times, but it's dead easy. 2-second job, isn't it, changing pads? On these Styler calipers as well, you just take them off and pop them out. So yeah, as a track bike and as a performance bike, it is fantastic.
Fab. And I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but obviously this is the electronic suspension one as well, so must have helped on your...
Lots of versatility, but we'll come on to the electronic suspension.
Right, you are. I thought we might do.
Okay.
So, carrying on then, fun and characterful on the road, you say, with great tank range and standard toolkit, obviously great standard toolkit, you say, well finished, and the chain is still in good nick.
Yeah. So it's a really good quality bike, first and foremost, which might surprise a lot of viewers. But, you know, the fit and finish is beautiful. There's no sense that there's any corners being cut anyway. You look around, it's beautiful. It's got lots of character. It's a 1400 V-twin, basically. The last 1400 I had was a 1.4L Orion, so a bit different to that. Yeah, and even the chain is good quality. You know, you get some chains on standard bikes and they just, you know, they just stretch straight away, but this is fantastic. It's such a lovely, characterful, beautiful bike to live with. And even now, with all these miles, I get on it and it surprises me every time. I think, wow, this is amazing. I don't want to give it back.
Well, fantastic. And any idea how long you've got it for? You know, any plans for any more trips?
Unfortunately not. No, it goes back literally in a couple of weeks. Oh. So I'm just savouring every ride on it.
Fantastic, brilliant stuff. Well, look, we'll move on from that to something that doesn't really surprise me with you. Say it's a great stunt bike.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's obvious. KTM are all about ready to race and, you know, they produce supermotos and their PR materials, skids and wheelies and, you know, this is a fantastic wheelie bike. We did a video earlier in the year talking about the wheelie control, which is actually a bit gimmicky. You know, you need to turn the wheelie control off to do proper wheelies. It lets you do skids because you can turn the rear ABS off. It lets you do endos. It's a fun bike, you know. It does a lot of serious stuff, but it knows how to party as well.
It lets you do endos.
Lets me do endos.
I'm not sure it would let me do endos.
It hasn't got endo control.
I remember we were all at a runway recently, and I remember you just stood here leaning against this, nice and casual, popped the crash helmet on, just sort of disappeared for a moment, came back, first, second, third, crossed up wheelie all the way down into fourth, front wheel had stopped, and then just I could hear it chirping as it came down. It's easy as pie.
Honestly, it's easy.
So annoying.
It's the bike, it's not me.
Yeah, sure, whatever. So I kind of already touched on it, but we'll come back to it. Versatile electronic suspension.
Yeah, so the really good thing about electronic suspension is that it gives you multiple bikes in one. Yeah. So, you know, for my 2-up trips on holiday with my girlfriend, you can set it soft, so it's nice and comfortable. It's got self-leveling rear preload. So regardless of all the luggage you put on it or a pillion, it keeps its shape, still handles properly. Then you can go a little bit sportier for the road, just firm the suspension up, and then make it really racy for the track as well. And you know, you can dive into the dash, you can adjust it. The way it describes the settings are either the simple up and down compression, or it talks about kind of more or less support. It kind of it talks about it in different ways, but it does the same thing. But it's pretty easy to adjust the suspension as well. So yeah, it gives you a lot of versatility. If I was only going to use it on the track, I think the R would probably be better. Yeah. But I'll come on to that. But as a bike you can use for everything, for its versatility, electronic suspension is fantastic, and it's really good on this.
Brilliant. So have you got any, because I know KTM are quite fond of a sort of tech pack or bolt on here and there, so is all of the suspension that you've got on it standard, or?
Well, yeah, the electronic suspension comes with the Evo model, so I think it's a couple of grand more than the standard R, and then the suspension settings are all in there. You don't have to pay extra to be able to adjust that.
Nice, nice, nice. So sticking with the word versatile then, you've gone from versatile electronics to versatile riding modes with a superb dash, rider aids, KTM sat-nav, cruise control, and a USB charger.
I know, it's got everything. Read those out and I'll comment on them one by one because I'll forget.
Right, so first of all, versatile riding modes.
So the riding modes, yeah, like the suspension, they give you the flexibility to be able to choose from, you know, a nice soft throttle and soft power with lots of electronic aid, wheelie control and traction control, all the way up to being sporty. So the riding modes are really, really useful. Then what?
So then, superb dash.
The dash, it's a really, I haven't got the key with me, but it's a really nice, clear, simple to read dash in the most part. There are a couple of things I don't like, which I've spoken about in the bad points, but the dash is really nice. Yep. And it's nice and shiny.
Wonderful. Is it light sensitive as well? Or, yeah. And what about the rider aids?
Rider aids, well, there's two ways to think about electronics. You can think about electronics as a performance aid or a safety aid. And on the road, the riding aids just stay in the background. They don't intrude on your phone. Like I say, it'll do skids and wheelies if you want it to. And then on the track, you can actually use them as a performance aid. So for example, when I rode to Spa and did a track day at Spa, I obviously wanted to ride home from it. So I wanted a bike that was quite safe.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was taking different lines into the corner, V lines, so you're not leant over for too long. And I made sure I kind of had a little bit more traction control than I would normally have, just for safety.
Yeah.
And you've got cornering ABS as well. So you can kind of make the bike fast and safe around the track if you need to go home and go to work on a Monday morning.
That's what you want. I mean, it's not cheap, is it? So you want a bike that's going to, you know, look after you as much as you're going to look after it.
And you know, it raises an eyebrow now if you go to a track day and you ride there on a road bike, because a lot of people take bikes in a van. So, and that is a concern, especially when you ride all that way to a track day. You don't want to crash. And this is, you can just have a lot of fun on this in complete safety.
Yeah, there'd be one thing having a tumble at Brands Hatch, but you know, the other side of Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you talk about the sat nav.
Sat nav is probably one of the best sat navs I've used.
Right. Okay.
Now it's one of the sat navs that is a 2-app jobby.
Yeah.
So you need to connect the KTM app to it. No, it's a one app jobby.
Right.
Which is better than a 2-app job. Because my Kawasaki last year, you had to run 2 apps. My brother's got a Multistrada Pikes Peak, 2 apps, and they were both really unreliable. But this is just a simple KTM sat nav. It's turn by turn. It's really easy to decide your route on your phone, stick in waypoints, and then it transfers that to the dash. Really easy to use, really easy. Never got lost.
Magic. Wonderful. It's what you want with the sat nav, to be fair.
You don't want to get lost.
And then we've got so many on here. Oh, the final one, USB charger.
Yep, it's got a nice little USB charger there.
Yeah.
I often ride with a tank bag, especially on long journeys, more to lean against and for a bit of wind protection. When you've got the sat nav connected with your phone app, it runs the battery down, so it's really handy to plug the phone in there. Easy. Spot
on.
Yeah.
Spot on. So from there, you've put ultra roomy, one of the comfiest seats of any bike, with good pillion comfort, and it's quieter than an adventure bike in the wind.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to forget any of these points.
So let's start with your one of the comfiest seats.
Yeah. So this is an actual accessory power parts seat, front and back.
Okay.
And honestly, you don't get number. I could spend all day in the saddle there, and I would not get a number. As it is, sort of a long riding day when I do these trips is maybe 9-10 hours, something like that maximum.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've not ridden anything with the seat as comfy as that, and for the pillion as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really like a memory foam pillow.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Is it
honestly?
Is it heated or anything like that? Or?
No, it's not heated, but I've only used it in the summer really, so I've never needed that.
And how much for these? Any idea?
No, but probably quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's pocket change for you, isn't it? So where do we get to?
But worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously I've not ridden it, but it
feels really nice.
Wonderful stuff. And so comfy, good pillion comfort. Quieter than any adventure bike.
Roomy.
Oh yes, sorry, yes.
Loads and loads of leg room. I'm 6 foot tall with bashed up knees, and again, this is one of the roomiest bikes I've ridden.
Yeah.
For a sports bike, it's amazing. And at the riding position, you're a little bit on your wrists because obviously it's a sports bike. But it is so comfortable. I'd choose this over an adventure bike, and carrying on from that, although it's got this little small aftermarket screen, or accessory screen rather, this does enough to keep the wind off without mega buffeting like you would get on a tall rounder or an adventure bike. So I would choose this over a fully fledged tourer any day of the week.
Wow, big claims. So is that a KTM screen then?
Yeah, that's a KTM. And don't ask how much it was. But I think it's like 120,
right,
130
I'm with you.
It's not mega bucks, but well worth it. You do feel a bit exposed without it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I mean, with these bikes in general, I always think behind the TFT looks a little bit ugly, and it's nice to have that little screen on there because it just kind of hides away.
It does. I mean, it is a bit granddaddy, I'll grant you, but it's very useful.
Brilliant. I'm not going to say anything on that one. So where did we get to? Okay, yes. So the mods then.
Not many mods, but some.
So we talked about the screen already. So
Screen's well worth it.
Take that off. Tech pack.
Tech pack is basically the full range of electronics that this bike has. So everything from quick shifters to extra riding modes and everything in between.
Okay.
So you get all the electronics on this bike. I think this bike's 19 odd grand. comes with everything, but then after 900 miles, I think it's 1500k,
Yeah.
you lose a lot of the electronics because it's a demo mode.
Quite controversial, that,
exactly.
isn't it? Yeah.
And you've got to pay to reinstate
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So they're mostly all worth it. It's mainly worth paying that bit extra or trying to get a deal from your dealer to reinstate those electronics.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously a lot of this stuff gets written into your PCP deal and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
business.
Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily. They should just charge the full price of the bike in the first place. You wouldn't really feel like you're having your leg lifted.
Yeah. Yeah. So other mods, obviously you've already talked about the comfort seat.
Worth it.
And then heated grips.
Yeah, one of the first things I put on, heated grip. I even use them in the summer, chilly morning. It allows you to wear thin gloves as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and they are good on these as well, aren't they?
Really, really good. Really good, yeah.
I remember last year thinking that, when I had my 1290, that they were some of the better heated grips that I'd tried.
100%.
So,
yeah. So all looking good so far.
Absolutely. Lever protectors as
Lever
well?
protectors, because it doesn't actually need a clutch lever protector.
No.
But it's on there anyway, but you need a lever protector for track days.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what else have we got? Oh, the Remus can.
Remus can, KTM put that on there.
Yeah.
Doesn't really give any performance gain. I don't think it's particularly nice looking, but it's on there. It's not something I'd actually recommend.
No, I mean, it does sound quite, because I've heard you ride this and it does sound quite nice.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound that different to the standard one.
No, it's
so,
pretty.
yeah.
Yeah, save your money with that.
Exactly. But obviously, and also you put, that you can get onto track days with that.
Yeah, it's not too loud. So you can go to a quiet track day with this bike and it just sails through.
And finally, which is not the usual fare for Super Nakeds, but you've said SW Motec luggage as well.
This scattered around here. So we've got a rack, and then, this is an SW Motec rack, and these are sort of pannier frames.
Yeah, it feels really solid as well, this.
Really amazing quality SW Motec. And then on that rack goes this rack, and then that tail bag.
Yep.
I've got a tank bag and panniers. I mean, it's not the sort of thing I'd normally put on a Super Naked, but this bike started the year as a Super Duke R, and has kind of ended the year as a Super Duke GT because of what I've been using it for.
Yep.
And all this luggage it looks great. Well, it's granddaddy, I'll admit. But for luggage, it looks good. And, I don't look at the bike and think, oh God, like my Kawasaki last year, that H2SX, I couldn't look at it, it's so ugly. But even with the stuff on, it still looks nice.
Yeah, and presumably this is what you used for all your trips as well.
So me and my girlfriend, I had the panniers, she had the tail pack, and I had the tank bag, and happy days, enough room.
All about compromise, isn't it?
Exactly.
All about compromise. So outside of the mods then, I think we're also going to talk about tyres.
Yep.
So we've got Michelin Power GPs first. So is that the standard tyre,
Yeah, so I've got 5 sets of tyres, I think, over the year.
Yeah, you've been busy.
Yeah,
you've been very busy.
And I've worn them all out. So yeah, the first ones were the OE Michelin Power, what are they? GPs. They're probably the best OE tyres I've used on any bike.
Wow.
Not because of their performance, because of they're closest to the real thing.
Right.
So OE tyres, you can have a tyre that looks like a certain tyre.
Yes.
But the replacement version you buy off the top is a completely different.
Yeah.
So the Michelin, I'm sure it still is an OE tyre, but the performance of it is exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fast road tyre, between a road tyre and a track day tyre. Fantastic grip, especially at the front. I can't remember, I think I changed it about 1,500 miles in, something like that. Really, really, really good. Yeah.
Wow, brilliant. And then so from there, we went to Pirelli Diablo Super Corsa V4 SPs.
Yeah. So I had a sort of a run of track days.
Yeah.
And because I'd done quite a few miles on the Michelins, including the group test that we did, that started to wear out. So I wanted just a dedicated track day tyre to see what this thing could do around Brands Donington. So I used the Pirellis. Absolutely fantastic. Loads
They're
of
great tyres.
If anything, too much tyre. I wasn't getting the bike out of shape at all in the way you'd ride a road bike at a track day. So yeah, more than good enough.
And then from there, it was a Bridgestone S23.
Yep. From there, I did my first Euro trip with my friends to the Pyrenees. So I wanted like an all-round sports tyre.
Yep.
So actually, Jamie Williams, I picked that up, said to me, I recommend those S23s.
Yeah.
They're really good tyres on track and they're quite durable for the road. So, I used them on that trip. And again, fantastic, good all-round sports tyres. The thing with Bridgestones, they're really good all-round tyres, you can't fault them. No. But the only thing I'm not keen on them is they don't wear that well. Right. They didn't last that long, and the ride quality is quite harsh.
Right.
But apart from that, no problems with grip or anything like that, especially in the wet. Really good.
Wow. Okay. So, and then from there, we're back over to Pirelli Metzler, I think.
It's Pirelli, Rosso.
Oh, there we go. So I've missed a pair. I've missed a pair. Yeah, Rosso 4 Courses next.
So those, the reason I put those on is because I did my Spa trip.
Yeah.
I wanted a tyre that would do a bit of touring and be good on track.
Yes.
So that middle ground between sports and track day, they fit in there absolutely perfect, as would have the Michelins. Yeah. But I think the Pirellis are better. So all day round, well, 2 days at Spa and a Donington and a Nürburgring on those tyres. No problems at all with grip. And then really good, you know, really good on the motorway, good in the wet. I would probably say they're the best sports tyre you could buy right now, based on what I've used this year and what I've used on other bikes.
I think it's a fair test.
Yeah.
It's been pretty comprehensive.
If you want to use your bike for everything with few compromises, for a road bike on the track, you don't need anything stickier.
No, no. And then from there, finally, I think, Metzler M9
yeah, exactly. So,
Sportex.
So for my final trip of the year, my Italian trip with my girlfriend, I wanted to put sports tyres on again. Yeah. In actual fact, I wanted sports touring tyres because the weather's starting to get, but this is a 255 rear.
Right, okay.
And it's difficult to find sports touring tyres that size. So I went for another sports tyre, which is, I think that's a former MCN tyre of the year, the M9 RR. So that's an all-round sports tyre, which is, again, fantastic. That's done 3,000 miles. It's still looking good.
Yeah, yeah, plenty of shape in that.
Yeah, most of the tyres, apart from the Bridgestones, have gone on more than 3,000 miles. So.
Wow, brilliant. And Metzlers are really good in the wet, I found as well.
And nice ride quality, nice neutral tyres as well.
Okay, right, well, the final good point then.
Okay.
Deep breath. So, all-round versatility, you say. Yep. So in some ways it's even better than a Tourer, which we've covered before. It's done everything that you've asked for it to do, with few compromises, but you say you'd still put the Tuono ahead of it for pure riding joy.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, the difference between living with a bike and when we do our group tests. Yeah. So, you know, this very bike was in our Super Naked group test, you know, and where did we go on it? I think we went to Lake District or something like that with all the bikes. And the Tuono dynamically, as a sporty naked, is better, I think. Yeah. You know, the suspension's plusher, the engine's character's nicer, it's more sporty.
Yeah, that soundtrack as well.
And the soundtrack is brilliant. Yeah. And this was second in that test. And then I think was the Street Fighter and then the M1000R. So I would still, if I was doing that test again tomorrow, I think I'd have the same result. But actually living with the bike, and for this to be able to be an R or a GT, you know, almost with extra luggage, that's the only difference. The versatility of it is amazing. And it's impressed me more as a tourer than it has, because it's a given, it's a fast bike, it's a fun bike, it handles beautifully, tick, 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 tick. We all know it's going to be like that. But what surprised me the most is what a comfortable long distance bike it is.
Yeah, yeah. And well, I think that's come through in all your answers. And obviously, if it was uncomfortable, I can't imagine you'd have done all those trips.
Well, the Kawasaki, which is supposed to be a touring bike, was uncomfortable. Like, really cramped, really wristy.
Yeah, yeah.
This is just brilliant. I can't think of any other bike I'd rather tour on.
Yeah, and the Kawasaki as well, big old bruiser as well.
And then, you know, when you get to, it's the old cliche, isn't it? You get to mountain roads and you can ride this like a super bike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Providing you're one up.
Is that are you referring to wheels there, or?
Well, yeah, both. Yeah.
So that's the good things out of the way.
Okay. Talk about the bad points.
Yeah, let's do it.
A little bit niggly as always. You know, not really bad points, but they're there.
I mean, it's already coming across that you're quite impressed with this bike. So again, no particular order for these. So we'll go straight in with it's expensive. And it's paying extra for electronics already installed.
Well, we touched on that before. It's an expensive bike. So basically, when you've got the electronics, it's over £20,000.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't know if we've all become desensitized to £20,000 bikes. Could be right about it all the time. Yeah. But in reality,
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for people like you and me.
100%.
And most viewers.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an expensive motorbike. So
I couldn't afford it.
No, I couldn't afford it. So yeah, there's a bit of a disadvantage. It's a plaything for the well-heeled.
Of course, and even, you know, when you're getting into those sorts of price points, even if you're financing or PCPing, it's still a decent chunk.
Still
for your
well
deposit.
over £200 a month.
Exactly.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's a down point. It's too expensive.
Yes. Yeah. And so after that, we've got sometimes you like its brutal, cartoonish styling, but generally you don't like the way it looks.
No, I mean, it's all, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? I'm not keen on the way this bike looks. Every now and then, if I see it at a certain angle, you know, it does look like a cartoon bike, and I think, well, that looks cool. But generally, I don't open the garage door and think, wow. And I very rarely look back at it. The lines don't, it's just a little bit podgy in places, it's a little bit bare in places. This new light doesn't bother me that much, but it's not beautiful.
No, no, no.
I mean, I've got a GSX-R 750, as we all know, and I can sit and look at that for hours.
Oh, it's a stunning motorbike.
But this, I just can't. If this looked like a Ducati Street Fighter,
yes, as you say,
I think it would be the perfect bike.
Right.
But it doesn't.
No, and I always found with this, I mean, I know you're always on top of your cleaning, but I always found with my one, as soon as, you know, that glossy orange frame or got a bit dirty or...
It looks tatty.
Exactly. Once you've cleaned it, beautiful. But I mean, you've not got the orange wheels as well, which is lucky. But but it's one of those that always benefits from a proper, thorough wash.
And I don't like the satin finish.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I just think it's kind of had its day now, the satin. I'd rather something a little bit more elegant, a little bit shinier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of minor things have gone wrong, you say. So the KTM Connect app has got stuck and needed reinstalling, and the custom buttons stopped all the other buttons from working.
Yeah, so the app is the thing I use for the sat nav.
Yes.
So on my last trip to Italy, it kind of got stuck. You couldn't navigate through it anymore. So I just had to delete the app from my phone and reinstall. It wasn't a problem.
No.
The thing that was a slight problem, on the right-hand bar, you've got this C1 and C2 button.
Yep.
The custom 1, custom 2, as you know. And you can assign anything that you would find in the menu to these buttons. So I chose, I think C1 was heated grips, and C2 was rider modes. So you didn't have to go and find it in the dash. So that was good, but I only discovered how to get around it recently, but it happened a few times earlier in the year. It would get stuck on one of the functions. So it would say heated grips on the dash, and you couldn't get rid of it with any of the other normal buttons.
Oh, right.
And the same with rider modes.
Yeah.
And then I was just down the motorway thinking, oh, you know, I can't, this is awkward.
Yeah.
And just playing with them, and it kind of freed off.
Yeah.
And then these buttons worked again.
Okay.
So then I kind of figured out, if I take the functions away from that, so they're just blank, then it doesn't freeze the rest of the buttons.
No, of course.
So that sort of the get me out of jail free kind of card. So that's the only real niggly thing that's kind of gone wrong with it, really. And it hasn't stopped me doing anything, it's just stopped me using the dash until I figured out a way around it.
Yeah, and then sticking with that side of the switches as well, you've put here the bracket holding the front brake reservoir bottle snapped on your tour.
Yeah, so I mean this bottle is just held on with a thin metal bracket.
Yes.
And it snapped when I was in Italy. So it either snapped through vibration, and during this 9,000 mile service, there were a lot of loose bolts on this because it does shake. It's a big V-twin. Yeah. So it either broke with vibration, but it probably not, because the clutch one might have broken as well.
Exactly, yeah.
But what probably did do it is where I put my helmet on the mirror, like everyone does, and it probably just bashed that one too many times and broke it.
So what's holding it in place at the moment then?
Cable tie and black tack. But it's not really a safety issue. You know, the bottle's upright. Yeah. The brakes, everything's good, and it's going to get repaired by KTM. But yeah, that's just one of those things. But I think you should be able to put your lid over the mirror without breaking that. And it's such a thin little bracket.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to have to move on to a different page
Drum roll, please.
So here we go. So on to number 5.
Yeah.
So electronic suspension, you say, isn't perfect on track. Front fork feel is a bit wooden. Yeah. And there's no preload adjustment.
That's right. So we've said how brilliant electronic suspension is to give the bike versatility. If you were just going to do track days and you wanted to set the bike up perfectly for the track, it's not quite there. Yeah. You know, especially the feel from the front end, there's no preload adjustment. Yeah. So for example, at Brands Hatch, I wasn't using all the fork travel, and normally I'd want to wind some preload off, and there was no way to do that. Okay. So you kind of have to trick the forks into doing it by maybe taking some compression damping off or whatever, which isn't really the right way to do it. So. And then that kind of nice feel that you normally get up through a nice set of forks isn't there with it. And it's only got a spring in one leg, which our tyre fitter actually told us. If you were to take the front wheel out and use a normal paddock stand, once you take the wheel spindle out and the wheel out, the bike collapses because there's only a spring in one side.
Right, okay.
So you've got to put it up on a centre jack, like an ABBA stand or something like that. So, you know, when you think of like an Olin setup, isn't like that. It's obviously built down to a price a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of reflected in the feel. And yeah, it doesn't matter that there's a spring in one leg. It all works as one unit, but it kind of demonstrates there's a little bit of cost cutting going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now you mention it, I think I can only see there's wires to the right one, isn't
Yeah,
there?
exactly.
And not to the left. But wow, I never knew that.
But it was not really a problem, to be honest. Like I say, if it's 100% track, I had sticky tyres on and I was chasing lap times, it'd be a problem. But to have a nice bit of fun around the track is absolutely fine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think for 90% of riders, it'd be good as gold.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on top of that, so we've got, it isn't as quick as a superbike on track, despite having a true 178 brake horsepower at the rear wheel.
Yeah. So, you know, this is a superbike with straight bars and no fairing, but it does get its hat nailed on down the straights by superbikes, which you wouldn't think necessarily. You know, you think you could have your cake and eat it. And I found that with the Street Fighter I've had before and other super nakeds, they're not quite as fast as proper superbikes around the track. So if you're chasing lap times and your mate's got an R1 or whatever, you're going to struggle to do it, just because it's got such poor aerodynamics, basically. Exactly.
But then if it could go as fast as an R1, whether or not your neck could then
take it, is another question. You know, especially at Spa, there's some really long straights at Spa, and it's a struggle to hang on, and you can really feel the wind resistance, and when you see superbikes bugger off into the distance, and also you haven't got as much weight over the front end going into the corners, so it's a little bit more flighty. Yeah. But again, if you just want to have fun on the track, it's absolutely fine.
Right, I'm with you. And after that, you've put the self-leveling rear shock takes time to set.
Yeah. So when you first get on the bike, the preload is automatic, and it wants to keep the bike at a certain height. So I guess every time you turn the bike on, it has to work that out.
Yeah.
So when you're on it, or you've got pillion, it takes time for it to figure itself out, maybe 30 seconds.
Right.
So you go down the road and you can feel the shock bottom out to begin with until it's kind of found its setting, and then it's fine.
Yeah. But you can't.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, but you can't leave it. You can't set a setting and then.
No, you can, as well as being self-leveling, it will automatically, or you can adjust via the dash the amount of preload.
Right.
You can have it on self-leveling, low, medium, or high, or you can dial in a percent of preload that stays static.
Right, okay.
But in the auto mode, it takes a while to figure out.
Okay.
So more on observation than a criticism.
I see, thank you very much. Yeah. So, wheelie control then, it's great on track, but a bit gimmicky, and the dash digits are too small.
Okay, yeah, so the wheelie control, on track, it's very useful, because a bike like this just wants to wheelie all the time. And after a while, it's just, if you want to go fast, it's one less thing to worry about if the bike's taking care of it for you.
Of course, yeah.
You know, it's got a really cool dash display showing the different levels of wheelie that it's got, but you can't actually do a proper balance point wheelie with the wheel. So it's a bit gimmicky in that respect.
Of course. I mean, you did a full video.
Yeah, we did a video of it. Just a bit of fun. I mean, when you're ever really going to do that away from an airfield that we did? Never, obviously. The dash digits, sort of the main stuff, the speed and the revs and everything like that, and the sat nav is fine. But then the sort of the smaller stuff, your trip and the smaller digits on there are too small for a 54-year-old to read very quickly. So quite often I find myself looking at the dash for too long. And the rest of the dash is used up with information that isn't really that important. It will tell you the level of heated grips you're on. It tells you what riding mode you're in, all that stuff you know already. Yeah. So if they've got rid of that and made some of the bigger stuff more granddad friendly, then I think that would be good, yeah. Because quite often I look down for a worrying amount of time. Yeah. Thinking I shouldn't be looking down this long to see how much fuel I've got left.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, it's a good point. I don't like all this self-deprecation though. Don't like all this granddad chat.
Well, that's very kind of you, mate.
But I don't know any granddads that can lap Spa like you could. So, okay.
Or McWilliams.
Well, yeah, very true, very true. So we've done wheelie control, occasionally stalls for no reason. Now that's a problem I had last year as well. So it's interesting to hear. Same for you.
Just pulling out of a junction, pulling out of a driveway or something like that. It just, which isn't really a problem unless you're two up with all the luggage. And if you're not ready for it, you put the foot down, and then you nearly topple off. And it starts up straight away. It went in for its 9,000 mile service. Before it went in for its service, it must have had a software update. When it stalled, it threw all the cruise control and the electronics out. They didn't work after that. But now when it stalls, everything works okay. So it's not a massive problem. And it probably happens one time in 50, if that.
Yeah, I see. I'm with you. Final one. And that is the exhaust heat at Spa warped the number plate.
Look at my number plate.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So it's on its second number plate. So the first one delaminated.
Okay.
Because of the exhaust heat. And the second one at Spa was red hot temperature, the air temperature in the 30s. And the bike's flat out a lot around Spa. So there's a lot of heat coming out of the exhaust, and it warped the exhaust, it warped the plate. Have you ever seen that before?
No.
No, I never have.
I think I would be a bit concerned about soft luggage or something like that if the number plate's warping.
I think that was only at the track. In really hot conditions.
Because you're such a hero.
Because I'm such a hero, and I probably left it in third all the way around by accident.
Yeah. But wow, no, I've never seen that before.
I know, I've never seen a warped number plate. Wow. I don't know if that's like as cool as scraping your fairing on the ground. Is that one of those hero kind of marks?
Yeah, maybe. Wow. Well, there we go. Well, look, thank you so much for showing me around.
Pleasure.
I've learnt loads about this bike from this, so I hope everybody else has enjoyed it as much as I have. $1,000,000 question though is, would you buy it? No, because two main reasons. I could never afford it. Yes, yeah. And I couldn't live with its looks. Right, I'm with you. But apart from that, when I'm on it as a bike to ride, it's probably one of the best long-term test bikes I've ever had. Yeah. Just because it does everything I want to. So it's such a shame, you know, unless MCN suddenly give me a massive pay rise, that's not going to happen. But it's a shame KTM's, none of their bikes are beautiful, I don't think. No, which is a shame. But some people love them. So, but that's the only thing that will put me off is its looks. But everything else I love. Fab. Well, yeah, thanks very much for answering my questions, and thanks for giving it such a thorough test. I think it'll be hugely beneficial to anyone looking to buy one of these. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this as well. If you have done, please remember to give us a like and a subscribe while you're here, and be sure to head to the channel to watch all our other 2024 long-term test videos while you're there.